Every year, hunters from across the country flock to the Midwest to chase one thing. That's giant whitetails. But what is it that makes the Midwest so different? Today, we're breaking down the 4 biggest reasons why the Midwest consistently produces the biggest whitetails in the world. There's no single factor that creates giant whitetails. It's actually a cumulative effect of a bunch of different things coming together. Now, we find whitetails all across the entire country, from the East Coast to the West Coast, all the way up into Canada. They're all across North America. So what is it that makes the Midwest so different? In this video, we are going to break it down for you, and we're starting with the first topic, probably the most noticeable, the most common, is food. Now, the Midwest obviously is known. It's the breadbasket of the United States. There is world-class nutrition here formulated specifically for whitetails. It's not happenstance. There's a reason why the largest deer in the world come from these large agricultural areas. Year after year, farmers are rotating crop and they're giving deer protein, they're giving deer carbs, they're giving them all the essential nutrients they need to grow giant bodies and giant racks. And they not only help the bucks grow giant, but they help the does with sustainable growth too, which helps the fawns and just betters a deer's lifespan and upward potential as a mature Midwest whitetail. Antlers are a reflection of nutrition. That's why you see animals in the Midwest consistently larger. Now, let's take a look. Let's dive back. We're going to go to the Southwest. You have Coues deer, genetically identical to a whitetail. They're much smaller body and they have much smaller antlers. That right there is a direct comparison. So you have the same animal both in the Midwest and the Southwest, and they're drastically different in size. That is 100% because of the nutrition and the conditions that they live in. Right now, I'm standing in the heart of Iowa, right central Iowa. This is prime ag country, but it also has some great opportunities for cover, natural browse for these animals. Few places on this earth provide the quality and the volume of nutrition that whitetails need to grow into mega giants. And a buck's potential is only as good as his access to groceries, his access to food, and his access to that antler growth. Tailing over from world-class nutrition, we have the perfect habitat for whitetails here in the Midwest, and it changes a little bit as you go from northern Iowa down into Missouri and Nebraska, Kansas, Illinois, Wisconsin. The terrain is variable, but it has one thing in common. There is plenty of cover for these animals to live and to hide in. So they have the food, they have world-class nutrition, coupled with the ability to keep themselves out of harm's way, to stay vigilant, to stay with good wind. And these animals, as they get older, obviously they become very intelligent. They know how to use the terrain to their advantage. So the cover and the terrain are huge reasons why the Midwest grows giant whitetails. When we talk about the Midwest, I always like to mention Buffalo County. Everybody knows Buffalo County if you're a big whitetail hunter. Some of the most Boone and Crockett entries in the book come from that county. That region of Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, in the bluff country. Now, I think that's hugely due to the terrain. Like I said, it's bluff country. The thermals are extremely tough. The wind is always super tough. There's big timber. It's easy for these deer to hide. It's easy for these deer to catch you slipping up if you're in pursuit of an animal like that. And that is what helps those animals reach such a high age structure and such a mature age class. At the end of the day, mature bucks survive because they avoid people. And there are no lack of people hunting across the Midwest. So if you're gonna survive, you need your food and you need good cover so you can stay away from hunters. Not only is the terrain going to help you stay away from hunters, but proper regulation and management of the deer herd is a huge reason why the Midwest is the best place for whitetails to grow giant. Places like Iowa and Kansas that have limited non-residents coming in every year, they're living on a draw system, so they have to wait for those points to build up. It keeps non-residents out, it keeps the hunter numbers down, and that helps keep the deer quality up. Now you see states like Wisconsin that allow non-resident hunters to come in every year, and by all means, that's absolutely perfect. Every state needs its own regulations and its own rule book, but different states do different things for specific reasons, and managing their whitetail herd is always at the top of the list. They have experts that are trained in knowing how to do that, what is right for their deer herd, and how to make it as efficient as possible, how to make the hunter's experience as good as possible, and how to get the deer to the age structure necessary to keep bringing those non-residents in, keep getting funding, and keep our Department of Natural Resources alive. One thing that we do specifically here in Iowa as far as proper management is issuing doe tags per county. You know, a lot of things we're talking about here, giant whitetails, we're talking about bucks, but it has a lot to do with does as well. In different counties, we're going to have different quotas for the number of does that you're able to take. Keeping your doe numbers and your buck numbers at a good ratio is crucial for growing those giant bucks. There's a limited supply of food at the end of the day. There's not food everywhere. There is a lot of food, but bucks get moved around by does far more than they do by people trying to stay safe and trying to stay fed. So with the DNR issuing quotas based on deer population per county, it helps deer in the Midwest grow larger. I know that might seem a little counterintuitive because we're talking about how keeping does separate from bucks or keeping that ratio ideal helps the bucks grow. But honestly, I think that's one of the biggest reasons from my experience that I think people kill mature deer consistently. If you have tons of deer that are eating up all the food and they're stomping around in the timber, a mature buck isn't going to want to hang out with fawns and does and yearlings. He's a grumpy old dude. He wants to go off by himself. He wants to be in the timber, safe, where he has control of his environment. So places where you can find that and your doe numbers are managed properly, oftentimes you're going to find the biggest bucks. Over the years, these regulations change. We bring in new types of rifles, we bring in new seasons, but it all centers around trying to keep the age structure where it should be. We're referencing Iowa a lot, that's where we are, but this goes for the entire Midwest. The last reason why we grow such big deer here in the heartland is because of high percentage of private land ownership. And on average, we have consistency in thought of getting deer to a proper age structure before harvesting them. When you have a high percentage of land ownership and a lot of people interested in managing that herd, it's going to be better all around. It's going to be better hunting. You're going to get deer to bigger age classes. They're going to be a healthier herd. I'm talking things like CRP, like timber stand improvement, like food plots. You're giving the deer nutrition, you're giving the deer cover to help them feel safe in the environment, to help them be as little pressured as possible so you can selectively harvest them as we move forward throughout the years of hunting. You can follow deer up, you can harvest them when it makes sense. Like we said, you can manage your doe numbers to make it as effective as possible on your private land, whether that's permission or you own it. At the end of the day, the Midwest isn't producing these deer by accident. There are thousands of landowners and thousands of hunters, regardless whether you own land or not, that are actively participating in strengthening these age structures of whitetails and keeping the herds healthy across all of the states here in the Midwest and frankly all of the country. The Midwest doesn't grow these giant whitetails from luck. It is a consistent effort across the board on things like habitat, food, proper regulation, and land ownership that helps all of it come together and create healthy neighborhoods and healthy deer herds for now and in the future. If you found this video at all helpful, drop a like below and subscribe. Let us know other topics around hunting or land ownership that you want to hear about in the future. We're always open to your comments. We'd love to hear from you, and thanks for watching.